Pretty sure we're good with the lag. Hello, everyone. This is State of Exile, episode 33. We got The Beast Stirs. Ziggy, where'd that name come from?
It just came to me, man. I was like, the beast is stirring. It's about to wake up.
Get ready. Rainbow discharges.
Were you in the shower and you're like, the beast stirs, man? Totally.
So, that's very lewd.
Inappropriate content. I need an adult. Stranger danger.
For everyone who doesn't know, we got 5 days until the big show. I didn't mean to rhyme there, but whoops. Anyways, Path of Exile 2.0. It's dropping. The Awakening. 5 days from now, and this is the last beta podcast. Praise be to thee, whoever you are. I am so pumped. I think everyone here is ready for the live. All right, so what are we talking about today? We got map affix drop changes. We're going to be talking about divination cards, the new leagues, Tempest and Warbands, some more 2.0 discussion, and of course we're going to do our Q&A, and we got Project PT back. Thanks a lot, Project PT, for coming back and enjoying the show, man.
Oh, thanks for inviting me. It was fun last time. This time, we'll do slightly better.
Oh, we're going to do you better? Oh, God.
Oh, yeah. It was very fun, yes, last time.
So,
I had two meal nights.
Just a heads up, everybody. We will not be discussing the new skills that they introduced. If you are unaware, on the Path of Exile main page, they showed a bunch of new Awakening skills that have yet to be tested. They just showed what they are, kind of like a little teaser of them. And because there's a lot of speculation with them, and we don't actually know the full mechanics of the skills, we're going to hold those till the next episode. So what do we got going on today? Map affixes, drop changes. Map affixes in general, they've made maps now into 3 tiers for everybody who was unaware of them. We have like a baby tier, which is map level 68, which is now the baseline map, all the way up to 72, right? 72?
Baby's first maps.
And these maps are actually a lot easier than live maps. The way how they work is, for instance, if the mob has extra damage as fire, it'll be a range from maybe 50 to 80, whereas in live it's always 80 to 100, 70 to 100. And once you reach the second tier, which is 73, you can now have the normal rolls that you see in live, as well as 2 elemental damage rolls. Also, they, on baby tier maps, they have lower degen. On live, it's half regen. On these, it's only 20%. So things like that. So it's a little bit more easy. It's a little bit easier for people to come into maps now. And they also removed pack size altogether. Pack size will now be given as an implicit whenever something affects your stats or elemental equilibrium. By affecting your stats, I mean curses. If you have a curse on you, you lower resistance, and you now get pack size. What do you think about these changes, Project?
Well, one of the things I stated on the last Path of Exile was please remove pack size. The alteration spamming to pack size, then regaling to a non-bricked mod. They removed it. I really enjoy it because now there's going to be more reward to builds who can just straight up alch, deal with 4 mods, move on. You're going to have other builds that struggle, or just sure they might have really high tooltip DPS, but there's so many things they can't fight. They're stuck to alteration regaling, and they're not going to get the massive quantity. You can get some pretty nice quantity just with alching, and then there's no consequence by being it doesn't have pack size. And then now we have double bosses. Double bosses with the bosses only being able to drop the +2 map levels. I don't think it's going to be worth alteration regaling that, but I wanted this change. The change happened. I have nothing more to say than thank you for finally doing this.
Did you say double bosses with the +2? Only one boss gets the extra drop, but I suppose you can still get ones on top of that.
I think that was what they were thinking of testing.
I believe they said it. Carl actually made a post about it, saying that double bosses won't get anything extra other than just loot.
There being 2 bosses. I mean, bosses can drop. I think that the second boss should still be able to drop +2, but it won't get that extra drop slot that they're adding.
Yes.
Yeah, the bonus.
What about for things that are already Museum implicitly has 3
Only
bosses?
one of them will get it. Okay, so one of them will be designated the map bonus dropper, I guess.
Yep. So you can't really exploit that, or at the same time, you don't feel like you have to have these maps, which I'm actually okay with.
Yeah, that's good.
To do a quick simplification, there is, as you kill a boss, if there's multiple bosses, they could all drop +2 because they have the potential to naturally drop a +2. But there is now going to be added a extra chance for these bosses to drop a +2, but that will only be rolled once, regardless of the amount of bosses. So
they'll still be sought out after, just not ridiculously overpowered.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
not
this
abusable.
This is good because, as Project said, you don't want to have to force it, so you have to have this mod on the map. That was the whole point of getting away from pack size, because if you weren't rolling pack size, you're not efficiently farming experience. So
I didn't get into 79 maps just because I was getting burnt out. I did the mid-tier maps. How high is the pack size in the 79 pluses? Is it 50%? If you get like one mod that affects your stats, is it at least 40? Because
I was seeing like 38 through 45.
Okay, that's still respectable. On the baby tier maps, they're only 15% pack size.
10, 15, yeah.
Yeah, they're low. And as of right now, it's like regen or no regen, any curse, elemental equilibrium. Is there any others that will give you pack size that I can think of?
Degen. Oh, half regen, sorry.
Yeah. So anything like that that personally affects your stats in EE will give you it. Oh, blood magic too. Blood magic. But that affects mana.
Blood magic.
So a lot of the harder tier map, like honestly, like I ran Temp Chains twice. I hate Temp Chains. It's like an automatic reroll. It didn't have Chilled Ground, so I was like, you know what? I'll give it a go. And I was playing Ice Crasher. It was like, as long as I one-shot him because I was going crit and I had enough crit multi, it didn't really affect it. It was just so slow as hell. I was like, you know what? I'm getting pack size out of it. It is affecting clear speed, but hey, why not? Let's test it. And it wasn't all that bad. It actually gave me an incentive to run that terrible mod, but I probably won't in the future. I don't know.
I can't run a Temp Chains. I can't do it. It'll make me mad. I really can't.
The map after the Temp Chains feels so fast.
It does. You're right. But you just want to punch yourself in the face for running a Temp Chains map.
Even in a hideout, you're like, wow. Like if you like sell in between a Temp Chains map, you like go in your hideout, you like feel so fast.
That's nice.
Have they released a permanent Temp Chains league race? Everyone is permanently hit with temporal chains.
It's
chilled
ground Temp Chains phylactery link all mobs.
With every mob was a tar zombie.
Otherwise known as Path of Exile 2010. Temp Chains.
They were like, people wanted to keep not getting nerfed, but we need to slow down clear speed. So here's the compromise.
Oh my God.
You can do 1 million damage, but you're not moving much.
So someone in chat brought up a point that people will just roll the stuff that causes pack size. Nothing has changed, but this is what this has done is that it's more closely tied the reward to the difficulty mods, which is kind of what I've been asking for ages. For a long time, I've wanted it to be that you were encouraged to roll difficulty mods because they were much more representative of the bonuses you'd be getting. So the small quantity bonus, which a lot of times from testing, people are like, does this really even make a difference? Now you're getting rarity, the quantity bonus, and pack size as well from difficulty mods, and it feels much more rewarding.
There's also the pack size is the only thing that gives pack size currently, right?
Yep.
But when you if you're rolling at alteration and then into regal, you only have 3 mods. You're not going to be exalting your map at this point in the meta. If you're alking, you could get 2 pack size mods and 3, so there still could be the alk chaos rather than the alteration, and they're still looking for a balance of pack size and quantity, because the 4 rolls will give you mass amount of quantity. Pack size is a multiplier of your quantity.
You also get rarity now too, which is something we didn't even talk about. Honestly, like I was rolling my 68 maps. Normally I just throw them in white, but now I feel like there's an incentive to actually roll 68 maps. You get so many of the damn thing, just transmute them all until you get a bunch of desired rolls. And like 20% degen is a joke. Like in any attack-based build, honestly, like with the changes to Leech, I almost every attack build I've been using blood magic, so it doesn't even affect me. I'm running blood rage, so I have a good amount of regen, so I'm just like, screw it, let's do it. Doesn't really affect me too much. It's 20% is pretty easy to do. Like half degen is kind of annoying, but 20% is not that bad.
Yeah.
One thing that should be clarified that might not have been clear: the +2 map that can drop on the specific table. The table from fighting the boss is a map table that then can roll the +2. It's not a guaranteed +2 if you Boolean success the map drop.
It's like how Piety has a 50% chance of dropping a map. It's a similar sort of mechanic applied to the bosses. I feel like the entry point into maps now with this baby tier of mods and then having the difficulty more closely related to the benefits feels like a much better introduction into maps now as well. You can, if you're playing a decent build, you can pretty much alk and run any low-level map, like up to 72 or whatever that next tier kicks in. And you won't really ever have to... Pardon?
would you want to spend your alks on the low ones? Did you
No,
find?
I
Maybe not. Like before, if you're alterating like 70s or something, then you're spending close to an alk anyway, depending what you're alting for.
I just like the idea of
But
transmuting.
since you can
build
alk
for
and
the low
basically run
ones.
straight anything, yeah, you can transmute and run, or you can alk and run. But the idea, I guess, since there's more rarity and pack size associated with more of the mods, then the alk is a bit better value. So whether you're alking low-level maps or not is questionable. But the difficulty of the maps, you notice the difficulty increases with different mods, so you get to sort of experience a lot of those different mods. But you're not having to spend a heap of currency like re-rolling them because you just can't run certain mods if you're playing a decent build. It feels like a great introduction.
And then we have more alterations to use on our jewels.
The crazy thing is usually like in a new league, you know, the self-found kind of environment, you end up farming a little bit. Like right now you have aqueducts and dried lake, people are farming for, you know, just levels. But like once you are able to enter maps, sometimes you're not resistance capped. And like I always felt like when I was entering maps, the reason I ran them white is just because the mods on the maps at 66 were just ridiculous for the gear I had. You know, first character, new league. So I was like, screw it, I'll just roll white until like 70 plus, you know, like around 70, 71. And now it's like, well, I could do this because I have good fire res and the mobs in here, most likely, you know, my cold res is only 50%. You know, like you can actually like, I don't know, it feels a lot more rewarding going to baseline maps than normal.
Yeah, usually my issue is like if you're starting a league and you're pumping like, you know, a good 20, 24 hours the day it comes out, you're probably going to be in maps on the first day. And usually you're not resist capped unless you have a shield. For some reason, shields on day one, it's just like you've got life and you've got tri-res on your shield. But if you want the deeps, you probably don't have a shield on. And then comes the point of if you roll your map, say you're like, I don't know, 71% lightning res or like 68% lightning res, and the map rolls 89% extra damage as lightning. You're like, well, I don't really want to run it right now. Mm-hmm. But now it's like it could roll, what, 40%? Yep. It gives you a more of an incentive to run it. It's still kind of dangerous, but 40% to 80%, pretty big difference, especially when you're not resist capped.
Yeah, I really do like the new changes. Like, honestly, like even EE maps aren't even that bad at that low level. I don't mind running EE at 60, 68. They're pretty easy peasy.
The only thing I'm still concerned of is damage is still really high in the beta compared to live. That's still what I've noticed.
Yeah, oh yeah.
So even though the mods on the maps at low level, like low maps got like changed and reworked, damage intake is still super duper duper high right now in the beta.
If a mob has tornado shot, you're gonna die.
Yeah, I've been crit by a rare mob in Combs area. A rare mob hit me for a 937 crit with capped fire res.
And this is normal difficulty?
Normal difficulty.
Wow.
937.
The little tongue dudes? The ones that lick you?
Those mobs. If they crit, you're done.
Yeah, I think it was a tongue. I think it was a tongue guy.
I was in a map, and it was a white map, or it was like the mobs didn't get any extra damage. I got crit for 4,500 and I had 4,600 HP. A white mob.
I don't think a hardcore build can survive with under 5.5k health and high maps. Like, not even a chance. You're gambling a crit. A crit is done.
Well, at least there's CI. Oh, wait.
Let's just leave it at that. Let's just leave it at that. No comment.
Oh, man. So, something in addition with these map changes has been Leech. Obviously, we don't have it over here on our little summary, but Leech has been changed across the board, and Project PT has been, you know, our studious person over here. Would you like to describe to the crowd what's going on with Leech right now?
All right. So I did do a video on my YouTube, and there's the link, or at least the description to that under the tag. But there's been a couple major changes. The first thing you need to keep in mind is Leech is pretty much 20% of its current effectiveness on live. Everything, you just take its current value, you divide it by 5. There will not be a legacy Leech. So any values on live, you're not going to be getting your 10%, Carnage Heart amulet in live. It is not going legacy. Keep that in mind. Now, Val Pact no longer has a penalty, but it was 40% effectiveness before, and Leech is now 20% effectiveness in comparison. So comparatively, Val Pact is 50% weaker. Now, and I apologize because there's a lot of stuff that's going on, Leech instances stack. What this means is currently it's like a burn. If you have multiple burns on a mob or multiple ignites, only the highest ignite is counted. It's the same with Leech. If you have multiple Leech sources, only the highest Leech is counted. This is no longer true. you leech from all instances. So if you have a 20% effectiveness, but can have multiple stacks, if you're hitting 5+ mobs, Leech is stronger. So your AoE Leech in maps should be better.
You're capped at 2% life of your effective life per monster. And live, you get up to 20% per, so it's actually 10 monsters. Because in order to get 20%, you need to hit 10 monsters now.
Yeah, so you do have to remember now, beyond that, there's 2 other changes. Is the 2% per mob and every single mob. You cannot leech more than that. Then you have max leech stat, which can extend you beyond the 20% leech per second. There's 2 5% nodes. Then you have increased life leech amount, which can extend the 2%. So if you want to make this really, really basic and simple, the maximum life leech per second will increase your AoE leech, and then the increased life leech amount will increase your single target and push it above 2%. So you're going to have to balance that. And then Valpak ignores any of the life leech amounts, all that. It just turns life leech to life on hit. You're good to go.
When you say AoE, though, that also applies to attacking the same target really quickly and stacking up multiple instances of Leech, though, correct?
Yes, if you can have multiple instances of a Leech off the same target. So if you attack quickly and you can stack the Leech, then you can hit the Leech cap on single target if you have a strong enough and fast enough attack.
From what I'm getting out of this, to correct myself, it's per hit, not per monster. You get 2%.
Yeah,
up to 2% of your
I
life
thought it was
per hit.
everyone was telling me it was per monster before.
It's per hit. So
Okay.
if you're playing like a Reeve build going really quick, each Reeve, in a multi-strike will give you up to 2% of your life.
Well, that makes single target leeching a lot better than what I thought it was.
But it's still pretty atrocious.
As like
still
a
pretty
double-strike,
atrocious.
multi-strike character. That's certainly an important distinction to make.
Yeah, but
can
2%
stack
of
off the
max
same
of
target.
20%
You,
is still...
you see, now that it's visualized on the health globe, you see when you're attacking the same target, you see it creep up until it reaches the leech cap. I'm playing a claw character with double strike at the moment.
Yeah. Really off topic, really quickly though. How do you guys like that globe change?
Well, when you use a health potion, you can see where it's going.
Yeah, I actually...
Leech as well. Leech is displayed on it too.
I liked it at first, and now I actually dislike it. I wish they would change the transparency of it, because when I'm looking at my health, I
think most people agree with that.
Yeah, I check it for a second, and if you're near cap and you see the life kind of flickering, you think you're full sometimes for a second, and then you just die because you're down 300 or 400 HP and you take a giant smash or something.
Sometimes because I'm always looking out the corner of my eye and I'm down to the third health and I'm like, oh, I didn't even realize until you actually look at it more closely.
Yeah,
it needs to be much more transparent.
You get the comparative views, and if you're at 1% health, you're pretty much dead, and you've just pressed a potion and you just see an entire health globe of a solid color, you're like, oh, I'm at full life.
I'm fine.
And then you're like,
I'm fine.
The health globe change, honestly, if they gave you the option to turn it on and off, or they change the colors, or both, I'd be pretty happy.
Colorblind, please change the colors.
Yeah, change the colors.
They said GG said they were gonna change it. I was just curious on what your guys' thoughts were about it.
It's pretty bad. It's
a good tool. Its implementation.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
In beta.
In execution,
I would have died in hardcore if that came out live. I would have just been like, oh, I'm good, dead. What?
It's a great idea, just poorly executed. Agreed. Agreed.
And it's a quick fix. It's not like it's oh, you completely screwed it up and have to just change the color a little bit.
Yep.
Basically, tweak the alpha value a little bit, and they'll be fine.
As we were saying about Leech, if you're so confused on the math, long story short, it did get nerfed. Leech did get nerfed pretty hard. Acuities did get changed back for all those people who play Acuity builds, but in general, Leech is much harder to sustain mana, especially on if you're playing before. If you're playing a conversion skill, it wasn't that bad, but now it's a lot harder. And Blood Magic is definitely one of those things where it's definitely going to be used more because of the Mana Leech changes. Ziggy, do you see yourself trying to do Mana Leech builds, or are you going to go through the Blood Magic route like a lot of people have been doing of late?
Originally, I was thinking that I was very concerned for Mana Leech and was, probably thinking along the lines of a lot of people, just playing Blood Magic on every build. But I've found that it's quite possible to make Mana Leech work in many attack-based builds, especially faster attacking ones. claws make things very easy, but even without claws, there's the new... so although Leech was nerfed a lot, we got some very nice new nodes. Spirit Void over in Ranger section is 0.6% mana leech, which is actually better than like the Shadow mana leech node used to be, if you compare it to the changes. And then it has 2 mana gain on hit as well. That's enough to sustain on a lot of builds, just that one thing. So that's basically 3 points in a pretty good spot on the tree. So bow builds went from basically getting the Shadow mana node to sustain off of Leech on the tree, to getting just Spirit Void and being okay. Slower hitting melee attackers and ranged attackers, I guess, that don't use Chain, don't use GMP Chain if they exist. They maybe have a little bit more problem with Mana Leech not quite covering it.
I found the mana on hit jewels sustain all my melee builds. I just used 1 to 2 rolled mana on hit.
How did you find getting them? Because it's a pretty rare roll.
Well, I think it's going to be a lot easier when we have access to PoE trade.
Yeah,
like the jewel system with PoE trade, being able to sell and buy. I did kind of alteration spam to them, and I've got it eventually. Obviously, the other rule was usually garbage, but that's something I'm like, PoE trade, fix that, good to go.
Exactly.
But 1 to 2, I was sustaining a 5-link Reeve with only like 32 unreserved mana.
Yeah. Any faster attack, like 2 mana gain on hit and then a little bit of mana leech, seemed to cover everything, both single target and AoE for me.
Mm-hmm.
What's crazy is last league, Duelist was like definitely the under-favored class, and now Duelist and Scion actually were looking really good. Like with the new Leech nodes down there, Revelry got a change, Frenzy charges are better, and then obviously Scion has easy 4 jewels you can get for 1 point each. I think those two classes we're going to see a lot more of this league.
There's actually a really good, a single node it's in between Duelist and Ranger. I don't know exactly what it's called, but it's a Mana Leech node that's right in between, and it's 0.4% for 1 point.
Yeah, that's what the project was saying.
Essence Sap.
Oh yeah, there you go, yeah. That's what I sustain all my builds off of, is that one node.
Yeah, it's 0.4% of physical attack damage leached as mana, 5% of maximum mana per second as maximum mana leech, and then 50% maximum mana leech per second.
Yeah, it's super good.
Keep in mind that mana leech cap was in live 12.5% of your total mana, and that's been buffed up to 20% to be equivalent with life. It's a small change that doesn't matter, but somebody needs to know that piece of information. One guy, he's like,
there are like some specific cases where getting this other node that's like a flask node but also has 20% increased max mana on it might actually help you because you're reaching the mana leech cap. So you gotta just keep that in mind. That's important. Maximum mana is still somewhat important for a mana leech build. I think spellcasters though have mana issues. I've noticed from my testing, and that's been a little bit further back in the beta. I've mostly been playing attack builds the last couple patches, but I feel like mana issues are much more significant for casters, and obviously the new Eldritch Battery solves that in some cases.
Every totem spec I played, a lot of my totem specs, until I got a good Eldritch Battery setup, I was like, screw it, I'll just use Blood Magic. Until I was able to sustain. Because the weird thing about going into Eldritch Battery, once you have EB, you don't want any max mana and you don't want any mana regen. So leading up to it, if you're on mana, you have to use mana pots, which are a really good change right now, actually. Mana pots are in a good state, but then you still have to use them. And then...
I did see a build using mana pots on Reddit yesterday.
They're not bad. You get...
Let me tell you guys.
have to use 2 of them. Now you only need 1, so I guess you sacrifice Quicksilver for it?
A hollowed mana flask takes 4 charges to use. It's
all mana
pots. All of them are?
Except for the quick ones. The slower ones are only 4 charges, but
That's
you get
nuts.
5 uses.
You can roll whatever you want on it. You could roll like an adrenaline and have an adrenaline pot up almost all times. You could have curse immune, remove bleed, remove shock. You could do whatever you want. And if you're playing a totem spec and you just don't get mana regen, it's so easy to sustain that buff permanently, because a totem is a large cast of mana. So all you need to do is make sure you can cast the totem 2 times. You cast the totem 2 times, mana pot, and you're good. And that's it. So it may seem like, I guess, annoying in a sense, but a mana pot is a super good utility. I really like it because I'm used to playing, MMOs, and you play caster, you have to use mana pots. Like, that's just how it is. So to me, I don't mind whatsoever.
I cannot personally justify a mana potion over a resist flask. To me, I'm just like, no. While you're leveling, sure. Once you have the levels and the gear to work around, I can't justify personally like 10 max resist. Plus, then you have like your surgeon rolls, and then your equivalent. You could have adrenaline, or if you wanted, you could have the heat. Anything you want. I can't give up that for a mana potion.
It goes both ways. I mean, again, what if you drop a Quicksilver and just run movement speed on your mana pot and keep your mana pot all times, and then switch your
I think
Quicksilver
dropping
with that?
Quicksilver with the difficulty of maps is definitely going to be something that people will be like, oh yeah, I could see it. I could see it happening.
The thing about mana pots right now too is the fact that we're even having this discussion shows that it's kind of a change where you can actually hold a debate. Before it was like mana pot, hell no. Now you can actually kind of argue, you know what, this build I'm going to use it, and then sacrifice one flash slot for something else entirely. Like you said, Pox. You know, what if I don't go down in the mana leech nodes? Instead, I just want to use one mana flask, and then I can save 10 skill points.
These are all just temporary things. I'm saying, like, you don't have, every endgame build strives, as PT said, to use like 2 or 3 resist pots with your all the other unique flasks you can use. But I'm just saying, as a short thing, or like, if you just want to get into maps and you don't want to have to sacrifice a link for blood magic, or you don't have the leech on your gloves or leech on your belt, you just put on a mana pot and you're good.
Day one, definitely.
Yeah, that's a good point. We tend to as a community, I think, focus a lot on like what is the optimal end min-maxed setup of this character, but there's a lot of in-between stuff, like leveling and early to mid end game is a significant part of Path of Exile, especially for those of us who regularly roll in challenge leagues and stuff like that. So Manapots definitely have a place in that early part. Yep, that too.
Unless I'm playing an acro build, Granite Flask will always be there. So like if I'm going to sacrifice anything, it'd probably be either my resistance flask.
I'm getting on the Granite train for even acro builds, Xeno.
What the hell? Well, I guess 1500 armor when you have 0 armor is quite a bit, but still.
It's it's at least 3k if you're using an Iron Skin, or about 3k if you're using an Iron Skin. And that plus, just your 3 endurance charges au naturel on your build gets you like to 40% plus mitigation pretty easily.
It'll save you against like the small hits. Not
until you get like a taste of hate. Like Renix can kind of fill that spot.
Mm-hmm. Good point. Taste of hate, lightning coil. People always say, just get lightning coil.
People will facepalm. I don't care. It's it has some legitimacy to it.
Well, one of the things is as content becomes harder, the flexibility of defense, you're not given as many options for the people interested in the hardcore setting. You can't be like, oh, it works most of the time. Not good enough.
True.
So there's going to be a lot of deaths while we kind of figure out the defensive meta. It's going to be fun. Obviously, Lightning Coil, Taste of Hate. That's Lightning Coil, Taste of Hate. No one needs to be explained why that's going to have some prevalence.
Yeah. The thing I'm most excited about for when the game goes live is the fact that we've had all this build discussion on what's meta and beta, but we really haven't had the ability to trade. The community itself, it's a struggle to get that perfect endgame setup. Some people have, but the community overall hasn't. And now we're going to see like all these beta builds actually being able to shine now that we can use our procurements and PoE.trade again. That's what I'm most excited for, honestly.
Yeah,
we're testing a lot of these bootstrap setups, which I suppose is pretty good based on that point I said earlier. But instead of like thinking just about like the finalized build. Back to, I think, the topping on Leech, though, which I think is pretty important. How do you guys feel about the changes to Leech and, how it actually feels in comparison to the difficulty of content? So the heightened difficulty of content for regular, AoE clearing versus bosses and stuff like that?
Sorry.
You can start off. You can start it.
Oh, I was going to say, I'm a masochist, and I play games when they're difficult. I don't care for very simple, easy to walk through games. It's harder. That's good. It offers me more of a challenge. It's going to make me have to debate the investment of a defensive stat over the offensive. Leeching on single target, even when you're Mjolnir discharge, it's not a lot. But in my opinion, that means we have to beat more challenges and the game is more rewarding to complete the content. And I play hardcore so that there's a chance that I die. If I had no risk of dying in hardcore, then it's not interesting. So I like it. It's going to be hard. It's going to be fun. It's going to be frustrating. And I think that's fantastic.
I'm still trying to get used to it. I agree with him in the sense of I do like it. It's just after playing beta, we've been hit with so many just crazy changes that this is just another one to try to overcome. And I'm so used to playing a caster and just getting 1% leech, and I'm done. Like that's it. You get 1% lightning, fire, or cold, and you're good. You can sustain that leech. With my previous character I played, it was the Dan's Game Resident Sleeper, EB, Mind Over Matter, Zealot's Oath. And then I would sustain my entire life pool because I had no life regen because it was going to my ES off 1% leech. And I'm pretty sure you can still do it if your damage is high enough, but then you have Thorn Flesh, which is like Rip Flesh. So it kind of like slapped one of my builds in the face, which is always, it's sad to see your baby die. But overall, I don't know. It's cool and all. It's really hard to work around now. And the only reason why I say that is I just get scared because if you want to make use of Leech, either you spec into Leech nodes, like if you want to get like the full benefit of it, or you get more damage. More damage with the current Thorn Flesh is just really, really scary. That's my only issue with it, is the scaling of Leech versus Thorn Flesh.
Thorn Flesh is definitely problematic, and I think that's like one of the most hated additions in beta, honestly. That, or they changed Anders to arrow dancing.
Well, it's like remove the aura to remove those kind of like BS reflect grips that you have occasionally, and then kind of put it back in. It is far less BS than aura. There's no animating
the aura
golem.
Stuff is like, oh, there's an underground crab that you don't see. I'm just gonna swing into this pack. Crab comes out.
Exactly.
Oh, no.
And the 1 week race, I was fourth. Dude, I am not a very good player, but I hit fourth in the 1 week race, and you know how I died to reflect? A golem, when it stands up, you can't see the aura on the ground. I crit an arc pack, and I died. I'm like, what the hell? And then he stands up, and he has elemental reflect, and I'm like,
rest
really?
in peace,
really?
Nugi's Mjolnir build.
Same thing.
Same thing.
Nugi happened the same thing. I was like, seriously? But thank God that changes in effect.
Yeah.
So let's
overall,
change
I feel like,
okay,
overall, I feel like the game is undeniably harder and less mindless. I really like the feeling of the changes in things like boss fights or against difficult single targets because you have to use more of your mechanics. Flask use becomes much more focused on, which I've always been a fan of in Path of Exile. Flasks are such a good mechanic in this game, and they've more and more over time become more focused on. This helps that, I think. And then, using your movement abilities and stuff like that, actually recognizing attacks, recognizing dangerous things and reacting to them is good. I just think that in terms of the overall difficulty, and I don't know how much Leech fits into this exactly, I don't think the Leech is so much the issue, but there's still a few BS-y things in terms of tuning that I think need to be worked out, like some of those mobs from Act 4 and stuff that need a bit more work, I think.
As much as there's going to be flaming in chat or whatever, in a game with instant logout being allowed and balanced around, you have to allow bullshitty mechanics, because if stuff is going to deal damage over a short period of time, a human can react in 1 second of damage.
Yeah,
it's going to be like, okay,
time to death too much, can they?
Yeah, that's a limit they have. How do you want to deal with that? There's arguments both ways. I don't mind it, but in a game that allows you to instantly log out, you need the ability to instantly die. That is the trade.
As long my only beef with the whole instantly die is I don't like when the game becomes hard where they just add flat damage across the board to monsters, which beta honestly is. I like where the mechanics are more skill based rather than everything does more damage. Because I'm looking at you, Diablo 3. Eventually, that's what Diablo 3 is in Rifts, right? Eventually, the game gets so hard you get one shot no matter what. I mean, that's not fun hard. Fun hard is, there's void zones on the ground. If I don't move, I die. For instance, that one monster who does a ground slam in the mines. He puts all these little frost void zones on the ground. You move. If you don't, you die. You face a consequence. I like those mechanics. Or where the game, like something like Brutus, where he hits you so hard, you know he's going to hit you hard, so you need a certain gear cap. That's still skill-based, but when everything does flat damage across the board, eventually that's just dumb hard. That's not fun.
Yeah. But there's also one of the things that I don't think is really assessed in the argument too often is when you do a map and you realize the map has the Act 4 tongue-licking monsters, right?
Yeah.
At that point in time, you have to make the decision. Do you scrap the map and lose the value, or do you risk the character? You can still avoid it. Maybe you could do a pack, you take one step, and there's powerful crit, Steve-O's instantly dead, and you're like, But realistically, you've seen the mob type, you know the mob's danger, and then you've decided personally to not give up on that map. So as much as it might be frustrating, there is the time to calculate and decide.
So you're incorporating into your time to death calculation the recognition that some of these monsters are have the potential of
insta-kill. It's like when you see a
kill.
bone row map. If you do a map and you see like bone rows and devos and they're shock ground, you leave the map because you're assessing the situation.
Well, yeah, that's player skill too. At the same time, that's not dumb hard.
But
You know
that's
that
fine to me.
Roas can stun and one-shot you or insta-gib you, and you know they're shocking
And you know those Act 4 tongue mobs or the Act 4 tornado shot mobs have powerful
Oh,
crits, you're dead. So it's the same thing. You know that. Are you deciding to continue the map?
That kind of kind of shifts the focus away from player skill to player decision making, which is good. Like what makes hardcore good in Path of Exile is that decision making is such an important part of it. But I do think that player skill also needs to be a big focus
you
there
want
too.
both.
Agreed.
Because
Yeah,
it's
it needs
just
to be a balance.
skill. Like it's an ARPG. You can't. It's not a true skill basis. We're not playing an FPS competitively. So you want both. Question is, what's the line that we want to feel good about both? Like, we get greedy. We like, bonus damage, lightning, and it has the Act 4 tornado shot mobs, crit, shock,
Lock
dead.
boxes.
Yeah, but like making the decision is skill based. Like if you have to think of the decision, it's skill based. If you just walk up to something, it's a white mob and it hits you for 4,500 because they increase monster damage across the board by 25%. That's just dumb. That's not fun. I mean, I don't know. That's just how I feel about it, at least.
I don't like a 10-second time to death, like what might be more appropriate in something like an MMO or something like that. But I do like the 1 to 2, maybe 3 sec max time to death, which seems to be what most of PoE is. It's just there's those other couple instances that are within that
It's when the 1 to
fraction
3
of a section.
the 1 to 3 second mobs then crit you. That's the
Yeah. As Chalk calls it, the perfect storm of PoE. When that powerful crits and you happen to be standing on shocked ground, when everything aligns perfectly. And then
You just die.
Yeah.
I kind of don't mind the perfect storm scenario where there's that cannot die mobs with double reflect and your ally cursed them style reflect rips and things like that. Like when there's all those stars aligned and you die. I don't mind when that's kind of an instant thing.
Those are
Because
hilarious.
that's like a part of Exile's beauty is the complex interacting mechanics
I'm
and stuff like
looking
that. Those
for-
crazy scenarios.
forward to is the hex font, which is normally not a problem. But a hex font mob then putting the new punishment on you hitting that mob, giving it a 30% more physical damage boost, then it critting you, and you just been like, what just happened?
Does punishment even come on with Hex Font? I've never seen it. I've seen
Pretty
it.
sure
with
It does, but
Shrine.
it refreshes so quickly.
Oh, okay. I mean, that's perfect storm. Those
that-
deaths are always hilarious. Corpse exploding the corpse of the boss kind of thing.
Yeah.
Rip.
So good.
Let's move on. We've talked a lot about maps and leeches. Let's go on to the newly added divination cards. So a little bit of eye candy here for you guys. I got 4 different pages we can look at. Well, 2 are right here each.
Cool.
They added a lot of new divination cards. If you did not see last episode of the podcast or you have been following up on beta, the way how divination cards work is there is a card set. Now, for instance, in the case of Gem Cutter's Promise, there is 3 cards. There is no card 1 of 3, 2 of 3, and 3 of 3. It's just they're all the same card. And when you pick up 3 of them, there's a vendor in Act 4, you turn it in, and you get, in this case, a random 20% level 1 gem. So there are some RNG ones, and then there's some that give flat currency, which I mixed feelings about. But overall, it's a way to get something static in the game that you could farm. The drop rates are unreleased, and if you've seen any of the data mine ones, it's been confirmed by GG. Those are entirely inaccurate. But the way how this works is, there's a lot of dice rolling ones, or there's ways to get legacy items such as the Headhunter featuring the Doctor card. That's going to be a very expensive card. What are your takes on Project? I wanted to ask you. You have a lot of good ideas when it comes to these things. How do you feel about the flat currency cards?
The flat currency cards always felt odd to me to the person who's decided to make that card. And obviously that's a personal financial decision, but it's just like, it felt lackluster. Like, why would you be doing the Exalt card? But it's fractional currency.
Mm-hmm, exactly. That's
It's the same thing again. But
It's
one
an
thing that I
Exalt
want to
shard.
just, before we continued this, guesses on the price of Jack in the Box right now.
I'm
What do you guys think for a single card of Jack in the Box? Because I'm curious what that's going to go for.
Probably like a chaos to 2. Because
Chaos?
you're really rolling the dice.
gonna say,
Oh,
like
you
a
are
chaos.
rolling the dice, and that's the thing. The other ones you can kind of figure out the value, divide the cost, the rarity split. It's just 9 cards. Check the actual value, 1/9 of the cost. That's
There's
the
a
value.
lot of uniques that kind of just sell for like an ALC or a chaos max. So
Yeah.
I think like
Yeah.
a chaos for that thing is pretty fair.
It's kind of crazy to think, like, if you find the Doctor card, you just made it big. Because one of those cards is worth so much.
Maybe
Headhunter
like
is
20 Exalta card.
Yeah, and then you have something like the Avenger. It's like, whew, I could get a Mjolnir, but if it's corrupted, the chances of you having a 3-link or a level 8 Varici that early, things like that are definitely going to be pretty funny. Or you just spent all that money getting 12 Mjolnir cards, and then it's a yellow Mjolnir. Have fun.
Do we have a confirmation on that it can be rolled into a yellow?
Fairly certain.
I feel certain, but I haven't seen someone use a corrupted item and get a yellow yet. So I'm just kind of curious, because it does say you get a Mjolnir that is corrupted. A yellow item would not be a Mjolnir that is corrupted.
I think the distinction was it can roll as a yellow. The only time it wouldn't was if you made it with a specific implicit or something. Or no, there was some distinction they made. I can't remember what it was. I think you can.
It can.
Yeah, I'd like a confirmation. I'll just quickly ask or something, send a message. Just so that we have a reference, be like, okay.
Can't roll yellows. I've seen a yellow Vol's Devotion. I don't know. Probably not getting a straight answer from chat
I actually like the idea of being able to get flat currency with divination cards.
Really?
Yes, because I really dislike magic finding. I hate it in every game I play because you always have to pick the trade between magic finding or just progressing or whatever. It's always like you're like whenever you like regal something and it rolls rarity, I'm just like I would rather have thorns on it instead of rarity or something or just some other, because it's just the thought of magic finding just annoys me for some reason. I don't know what it is about it. I just really dislike it. So the fact that you can do something without magic finding aside from progressing through endgame, because I don't know, and like still actually make currency, like if you wanted to farm Exalteds and you wanted to get the card, you could farm it. And you would, even if magic finding would assist you in doing it, you wouldn't have to do it necessarily, and you're still guaranteed. I can still make money with my build without having to do this.
All right.
Well, making money is always cost versus time. If farming Exalt is slower than, completing Chaos recipes by magic finding balls, you're not going to farm Exalt. You never will. That's just inefficient ways to get currency.
Right,
and
but
if
it's
your goal
still
is currency.
Yeah, but it offers other people ways of doing it. It's like
I think solo self-found, sure. Yeah, solo self-found, obviously. Fantastic. You need an Exalt, you're solo self-found, there's where you go get an
Good
Exalt.
luck getting it because those things are rare.
It doesn't necessarily mean you have to, you're doing the most efficient way. It just opens up other opportunities. For example, say you're going to be mapping, right? Here's a perfect example. And you get bored after mapping for 3 hours, so you stop playing Path of Exile. But say you now have the option of farming in 15 different zones for currency that can add up. But you're going to play the game longer because you now have more options of what to farm. You're not just mindlessly culling, piety for 10 years over and over and over doing Chaos Recipe or Vol or etc.
Yeah, but I think it's or at least me and Zeno's opinion, is that yes, but you could also then farm something that would also sell, like the Headhunter's card. That would be too rare to try to farm. That would be a waste of your time. It's not that it's bad for the game. It's just it feels personally uninteresting.
Like, for me, Reign of Chaos. Now, I'm not going to talk about financial or anything like that. The card, you spend your money how you want to spend your money. But if I look at Reign of Chaos, it's probably going to be a common card because it's a Chaos Orb. One Chaos Orb, and there's 8 of them. So it's probably going to drop fairly often, wherever zone it is. However, because it takes 8 cards equal 1 Chaos Orb, this card is worth 1 Chance Orb. About the equivalent of 1 Chance Orb. Like, it has a set value because it drops set currency. An 1/8 of a Chaos Orb in most leagues is a Chance Orb, depending the league. But, overall, that card is stuck at that rate. It's very hard to change the price of that card. So in terms of a trade standpoint, I just look at it and I'm like, well, if I find 8, I get a Chaos Orb. But by the time I get this, I could have just done the Chaos recipe. So things like that, I'm just like, eh. But then I look at something like Humility. Tabula Rasa is definitely a sought-out after unique. A lot of people will definitely trade for this card, and not to mention little bonus points for the flavor text there, fitting the theme of Tabula Rasa.
Whoever that was, there's your slow clap.
Yeah.
Well done. Well done.
But things like that I really like, or even the Explorer. We don't know if the level you turn it in will net the item level of the map, but maps are something that at a high level, if it has the potential to give you an 82 map, the Explorer is a pretty cool card. If it's equal to your level, an item level, that card will definitely be worth something. We don't know.
Isn't it that's the item level of your level when you turn it in with a cap of 80?
Yes.
Well, so the Explorer is definitely worth money then, because even a level 80 or potentially 81 map, pretty damn awesome.
Well,
no,
you can get item level maps that aren't the actual map level, though. So you can get an item level 80, 68 map. If you ever try to search maps in your tab, you'll see how that works. So I think it'll give you a random rare map of a random level,
up
probably
to 80.
skewed towards lower levels.
I do like a lot of the divination cards, and that's the beauty behind this is if you are the divination supporter, good on you. Even if some people don't like your card, you like your card, and it's your unique way of putting.
At the very least, it's cool art and flavor text.
Exactly, and you get to add something to the game that will forever be there. I'm cool with it. Even if I don't like the card itself, it's still a great cause. Whatever. And
on the topic of currency cards, I think that ones that just give you raw value, basically trade currency, I don't find particularly interesting. So something that's like 5 exalts is just a high value set to turn in. I don't really find that particularly engaging. One that's I think is particularly interesting is coveted possession. I like ones that give you the potential of being very useful. So I would prefer if coveted possession was instead of 5 regals was just 1 regal. The idea being that I found a one that's got 2 T1 affixes on it, but don't have a regal. And they're pretty rare. They don't drop all the time. Either you don't want to trade for one, or it's early, it's hard to trade for one, or you are playing self-found. Then you're like, all right, well, I know this zone drops that card. I'm farming anyway. I might go farm there and eventually farm up a regal, and I can regal this one and see what I get. I like currency cards that do that.
Yeah, I agree with the regal.
Rather than just being 5 regals, I think is less interesting than 1 regal.
Low enough value that it's going to be farmable personally.
Yeah.
Same with the GCPs. I think the GCP, if you want the 20% quality and you don't want to deal with trading and buying that, you could just be you know what, I'm just gonna farm out the GCPs, the regals. I think those have a really nice place, but the Exalt one, when you apply the Exalt rarity, how long you'd have to farm an area for the chance of farming out the cards, you're not gonna get the Exalt in enough time to craft with it.
In my experience, the one that I like, the Summoner card is one of my favorites, and I'm hoping Gem Cutter's Promise is the same way. The Summoner card gives you a random 20% minion gem at level 1.
What did you get?
I got Summon Zombie, but I've seen people get Dominated and Below.
I got Blink Arrow.
Blink Arrow, it's so trolly, but at the same time, it's common enough where you could farm it, enjoy turning it in, and get excited about turning it in every time. And sometimes you get a laughable one like Blink Arrow, or sometimes you get Summon Zombie. I really like those ones where it's common enough where if you get trolled, it's not a big deal because you can get another one in 2 or 3 hours of farming. I really like those cards, and Gem Cutter's Promise I feel is going to be one of those. It's going to be super trolly. It only takes 3 cards.
100 one-handed weapons. I think there's a lot of really, really good cards, and this is just Divination's only going to get better and better.
Exactly.
I hope it pulls down the price of 20% quality gems because they're obscenely expensive.
Hard to say.
Let's talk about Time Lost Relic. Whoever made this one, this card I think is extremely balanced because it gives you a league-specific item which is no longer attainable with the exception of chancing in a Zana map. Or getting a divination card with
Do we know where this drops yet? Firstly?
Yeah, what if it drops only in Zana modded maps?
Oh, that would be so trolly. Oh my god.
It would be so troll. And
they have made those cheaper, so running them more regularly just for shits and giggles is and then slowly farming up a set of those I think is possible.
We'll have to see where it farms. That's the one thing in the 5 days we have to figure out where these cards drop.
League specific item, you have some pretty bad ones, but anything that gives any of the Rampage ones that you get are actually quite crazy because they all now give you Rampage, and getting a free buff Rampage always is nuts. And then obviously you have Headhunter, and there's already 2 Headhunter cards. Or you can get something trolly like the Goal from what league was it? Domination. There's a bunch of really good ones out there, like Void Eye plus 5 to all.
Getting the barracks pieces.
Yeah.
The barracks pieces. There's a lot of really, really good legacy items out there, but there's a lot of bad ones too. So that's another dice rolling one, and it's going to be a high ticket item. I love that card. What else is quite good? The Whispering Ice Staff. I'm really happy that someone decided to make this card, and it's only 4. It's only 4. Like, we don't know the rarity or the drop rate of it, but 4 seems a lot. Like, when you look at these 1 to 12 for Crown of Ice, you're like, God, that's going to take me forever. But then you see 1 to 4 Whispering Ice.
Let's be real though. What impact does the amount of cards have? I think the only impact it has is in terms of how like fractionally you can buy your way towards it.
It
if
doesn't.
you're
That, and if you
sets.
find one, you have more incentive to finish it. If it's 1 of 4 and I find 1 the
That's true.
incantation,
That's an
I can
impact.
invest in 3. But if
It's
I
like a
find 1 the
psychological
Watcher,
effect. It's not really
it's
like
definitely a
Yeah,
psychological effect.
From
there.
a numerical point, it should be pretty much meaningless, as Ziggy was kind of saying. But psychologically, when you have like 2 of 12, it's like, ooh, you're working towards something. Where something in 1 of 2, it's just like, I got a half, I'll eventually get the other half.
It's a
the 1 of 2
placebo,
card I
man.
really like, though. The Lover's whatever it is. The one that drops in Necropolis, it gives you an item level 79 jewelry, which, by the way, belts your jewelry. Tail.
Yeah, just in case you haven't been
It should be
disappointed
called
yet.
accessories. Please rename them to accessories.
It says, I was so excited. I got like 4 of those cards in Necropolis, and then you turn it in and it gives you item level 79 yellow jewelry. And at that time, it was a Zana map, and it was like a 68 or 69 Zana map. I was like, hell yeah. And every single one of them was studded belt or cloth belt, and I'm like, what the hell?
Anyone ever wear a belt on their ear?
There's a 99% drop chance
you
of
got like a
cloth
belt
pellets.
hanging from your ear. Yeah, man.
Okay. I like the 10 times Valorb. I'm curious to the rarity of that, the inventor, because Valorbs, you can never have enough Valorbs.
That's very true. You could
And
pretty much
they're going to go up in value.
you could find an excuse to Valorb something in pretty much every map you run.
So then again, for that one, that's another example where I would be more interested in that set if it was just
Singles.
the one Valor. It's like
One Val. I never val one thing at a time. If I'm valing, I'm prepared to.
yeah,
break a
I
whole
suppose
bunch
that's
of them.
true. Like
I'm
when
like,
I'm
all right, I've
jewelry
got my 15
crafting, I do a
Meginors.
bunch.
I need this.
Let's
So-
talk about the Karma Commando card. If you know him, Karma Commando, he's active viewer here in Twitch. If you've seen him around, he made the Divination card, the Gambler, and when I was talking to him about it, it is such a troll card, and I was like, I hope GGG implements this in every single zone.
I was actually going to point that out. I'm glad you did previously when you flipped the page. That's one of my favorites. The Gambler. That's just. Are you going to get a higher value or a lower value? And then just like the other one, how much is that going to sell for? Not a lot.
If this one
There's
drops
no
in
way.
like many different zones, or more importantly, outside of Zana maps, and then there's ones that only drop inside of Zana maps, and this is a way of getting Zana map cards outside of Zana maps.
Gambler.
It's an interesting follow-on.
Gambler.
I think it
Does that
probably
be
can
so
get
troll
itself.
to get 1/5 of its own price from turning it in?
Rich J Money said he was going to make a card that gives you 5. It was going to be 5 out of 5, and it gives you 1 wisdom scrap. It gives you 5 wisdom scraps when you turn
Yeah,
it in.
stuff like that. Well, there's the 5 times random currency, and I was curious, does that include wisdom scraps and all that stuff?
Well, the irony
you
of it
get-
is if you sell a divination card, you get a wisdom scrap, and if you collect 5 of them, it gives you the same value no matter what you do with it. Thanks, Rich.
Yeah, on the topic of divination cards, this is kind of a little bit of an off topic, but would you guys agree that divination cards are kind of making their way as like a pretty big impact on Path of Exile?
Yeah.
Not yet. I don't
Right.
feel like.
What
I
do you-
think divination cards is a better way to engage people into trade chat. When you look at it from like loot that will exist in the leagues per period of time, etc., the end result is the same, and it should be the same. That's the objective. But it's going to engage players more with each other, and that's a good thing.
So what do you think of them adding a stash tab designated for divination cards?
Nah.
But they sell
You don't
so
think-
many stash tabs.
And they're so cheap. They're like, they're just
You-
one slot.
But if you're, I mean, God knows how
Yeah,
many different types of divination
There's going
cards
to
there
be
are.
a lot. Well, here's the
That's-
thing. You used to have to keep all your leveling gems.
Mhm.
Now we can have gem vendors. That assortment of area that you used to have for all your leveling gems is now your divinations.
Yeah, you don't need a stash tab of gems anymore.
I
Let's
guess.
just be honest. Divination cards are existing so they can branch off and make their own Magic the Gathering game with them.
I was
And,
just thinking
Hearthstone too.
I was just thinking it would be cool to have a designated
Postone.
tab for them.
Poststone.
I'm pretty sure
Hearthstone.
their plan is making them 4x4 and not stack, so that you have to buy stash tabs.
Oh god, that'd be a major
That's the
troll.
plan.
I'd be so mad at GG if they did that.
6x2, I reckon, and then it looks like a card shape.
Oh yeah, right. It's a card. that's 4x4. That makes no sense. 6x2.
Something to talk about with divination cards. This is the only time the community will have access to get them. The way in the current state, GGG is not making them. It's completely. You buy a supporter pack. Once you have the supporter pack, you get with GGG, you make it. So it's completely community based that are making these. And once the supporter packs are done, GGG said they would continue on the legacy of the divination card. But right now is the community's chance to do it. We don't know how long these supporter packs are going to be out. Obviously, usually, the last supporter pack was about 8 months long. So maybe these will too. We don't know. But if you really like the idea of making your own divination card, now is the time to sign up, I would say. Get them out there. Is there any uniques or things that you don't want to see on a divination card? Like, personally, I don't want to see mirrors on a divination card. I like the fact that mirrors are, very exclusive.
I'm
And
really surprised no one has made one yet.
maybe
No
they've
one's-
tried and GGG said no. That's what I'm thinking.
I mean, it would be a super pointless card
Yeah,
anyway,
that's-
because it's going to take so long for enough mirror cards to drop that it even becomes the fragment of the value of the mirror.
Well,
Like,
it wouldn't even become the fragment of the value. If they're that rare, you have to find someone that's found the card and is willing to trade it.
mm,
That's going to be annoying. Like, who's going to have 3 mirror cards out of, let's say, 6, and then be willing to trade that?
Should make it 1 of 100.
I think they said they're capping it at 12, related to
Sounds
someone
nice.
talked about the divination stuff.
there you go, I didn't know that.
Good. Oh man, let's see. I think it's kind of funny that they let something like the Fiend happen, and then both the Fiend is a corrupted headhunter, and the Doctor is a headhunter. Headhunter is one of those sought after items where everybody wants that. It's super strong, and then you still have the time lost relic. You have 3 ways to get a headhunter through divination cards. It's kind of nuts.
What do you think is more common, a corrupted headhunter or a non-corrupted headhunter?
Corrupted.
I imagine the corrupted is
Yeah.
more common.
The Doctor
Given
card's
the
going to be worth a
potential for
lot of
error.
money. A lot of money. If you find one of those, unless you really want to collect this set, I'm going to sell that crap as soon as I find it.
I think a headhunter is overrated. It's really, really fun, but I think it's overrated. I will sell that card immediately.
Well,
when
keep
I
in
get
mind, rare monsters now comes automatically with Nemesis.
it. That is true.
So, for
Hunter
map
buffs.
rolls, if you guys don't know, if you roll magic monsters, it automatically comes with bloodlines. If you roll rare monsters, it automatically comes with Nemesis.
Another good change. It's exactly like the pack size change.
Yep.
I forgot to
I
mention
really
that,
like
but
that change.
I like it too.
Some people really don't like bloodlines. It seems to be a very hit or miss league, but I really don't mind it if it comes with rare monster or magic packs. I just don't want otherworldly as every single one. And there's no more file actual link, so I don't care.
Yeah, the tied together mod was really cool since everyone always wants to roll magic. Why not just attach it with something else that seems appropriate?
Yeah, it made sense. Nice logical change.
Yeah, that's true. Well, let's go on. Let's talk about the next thing we got in